Hey everyone, welcome back to the Appian memory game series. Before we dive into the gameplay logic, let's do a super quick recap of what we have built so far. In part 1, we focused on the structure of the board. We created a clean layout using columns and cards and made sure each card could be generated dynamically in a grid. Then in part 2, we implemented the generation of random numbers. We used a couple of functions to generate random numbers for our cards. We also made sure we had pairs, handled duplicates, and built a list that mixes matched and filler cards. Now in part 3, we bring our game to life. We will be adding the logic that makes the game actually work. That includes selecting cards, validating matches, tracking attempts, and resetting or replaying the game. So without any further delays, let's get started. Let's start with the part of the code where we loop over each card and control what happens when the user interacts with them. We are using a for each loop here to go through each card and display it on the screen. You might remember from part 2, local generate random numbers holds the data for each card, but it's not just a number. It is a map which looks like this. So each card has two properties. The actual number to display, a flag called show which tells us if the card is currently revealed or not. I chose this format on purpose and I'll tell you why. When a user clicks on a card, we need to do two things. First, show the number on that card. Second, disable that card from being clicked again. And that show flag makes this super easy. We just say, if show is true, reveal the number and disable the link. If show is false, keep the card hidden and clickable. And that's exactly why we are looping through local generate random numbers now. Let's talk about what happens when a player clicks a card. We need to track what card was selected and show its value. So all of this happens inside the dynamic link. When a user clicks on a card, we use Appian dynamic link to handle the interaction. And inside that link, we have a save into array, basically a set of instructions that run when a card is clicked. What I need to do is now, I need to update the flag that controls whether the card is shown or hidden. So I will be using Appian save and target is going to be fvbankitem.show. Okay, and we will be saving true into it. So when we save true into it, we know the player clicked that card and we want to show its number. Let's test this. I'm clicking a card now and you can see the value of the flag being updated to true. Now that we know what card is clicked, we need to remember what number was selected. Why? Because we want to check if two selected cards are a match. To do so, first of all, I will declare a local variable called local selected card. Inside Appian dynamic link, I am using Appian save to set the value of local selected card. Local selected card is my target, and in the value we are going to use index function and gonna grab the clicked card number from local list of numbers, which holds a shuffled list of numbers from 1 to 9, where each number represents a unique card in the game. Now when a player clicks on a card, we want to record which card they have selected. And for that, we use index function to get the number of the card that was clicked. Let's say the player clicked on the second card. The fvbang index would be 2. So this index function pulls the second number from the list. But keep in mind this overrides any previous value. It's only saving one clicked card at a time. But we want to track multiple selections, right? And in order to do so, we have to make local selected card act like a temporary selection memory. It should grow with every click. And to make it grow with every click, we use append function, which adds the clicked card number to the existing list. So basically, we are appending the number at this index to local selected card. So let's test it now. Let me pick a random card. We can see the local selected card now has one number. Let's click another card. Now it has two numbers. So it's tracking selections correctly. Now our next goal is to track how many times a player correctly clicks the number in sequence. So we'll go ahead and declare a local variable called local number and initializing its value to 0. I set it to 0. That's because the player hasn't clicked any numbers yet. So we want to keep track of how far they have gotten. Every time they click the correct next number in the sequence, we increment a counter. We are going to increment it only when the player clicks the card. So inside Appian dynamic link, I'm gonna use another Appian save where the target is going to be local number and value is going to be local number plus 1. So basically this local number is a variable that holds how many correct numbers have been clicked so far. Every time the player selects a new card, we increment local number. And later we use this to trigger the U1 message when they reach 9 matches. Next, we need to validate the player's selection, if they are clicking the next correct number in the sequence or just a random card. So we start by declaring a local variable called local validate. This will store whether the player's move is valid or not. And to check if it is the expected number, we compare the player's last selected card to the expected next number. Local number is nothing but how many correct selections the player has made so far. And to get the last card the player clicked, we reverse the local selected card list and take the very first item. Let's do a quick check now. It errors out because we are comparing two incompatible operands of type number and type null. We do have a value in local number, but local selected card remains empty unless player makes a first move. So to handle the very first click, we will check if local selected is empty. That means it's the first move, and in that case, we return true, meaning the move is automatically valid. Otherwise, check if the last clicked card is equal to the number which we have in local number. Now it's time to retest this to make sure it behaves exactly the way we want. There are no cards selected yet, so we expect local validate to be true, and it is. This means the first move is always allowed. Now I tried to skip ahead and clicked 3, but I haven't clicked 1 or 2 yet. So we expect local validate to be false, and that's exactly what we get. The logic is working. Now even if we continue clicking the correct sequence, the game will never recover because we started with an invalid move. So the player must start correctly with number 1. So local validate basically controls whether the player is following the correct sequence or not. If the first move is wrong, the game should stop accepting inputs, and that's something we are going to work on next. Cool. In order to prevent further input when a wrong move is made, we are gonna wrap our Appian dynamic link, the component that handles clicks, inside an if condition. Because we wanna make sure that players can only click cards if the move is valid. And once the move is invalid, like clicking the wrong number, the game stops accepting inputs. appianseekho is equal to false, which means the card must not already be revealed. We don't want players clicking on already flipped cards, right? And here is how the second condition goes like. To know if the move is valid, we use local validate, as we already know that this variable plays a gatekeeping role in our game. If local validate is equal to true, that means the player clicked the correct number in the sequence. So basically we are using fbbankitem.show is equal to false to prevent the player from clicking the same card multiple times. And here AND condition makes sure both conditions are met. And if both of them are met, we return the Appian dynamic link, and if either one fails, we return empty list. Let's say we didn't include this check. What would happen? A player could click the same card again and again, right? And it might even allow the player to win just by repeatedly clicking the first correct number. So by adding this condition, we prevent accidental or intentional re-clicking of revealed cards, and pairing it with local validate to lock down the game after a wrong move. I hope that makes sense. Alright, let's do a quick check now. And at the same time, I expect you to keep an eye on the local variables panel as well. We want to confirm 2 things. First one, cards that have already been clicked are no longer clickable. Second, only face down cards respond to player clicks. I click a card now. That's number 1. The card flips, and you can see fbbankitem.show for that card is now true. The card is no longer clickable now because fbbankitem.show is equal to true, so the AND condition fails and hence no link is returned. Having said that, remaining 8 cards are still clickable. I keep clicking the cards in the correct sequence 1, 2, 3 all the way up to 7. Up to this point, local validate stays true. But now, instead of clicking the card with the number 8, I click the incorrect card, the one with 9. Now what happens? Local selected card gets updated with the wrong number, and hence local validate becomes false. Even though fvbankitem.show is equal to false for the other cards, the entire condition fails. And the result is empty list, nothing is returned, which makes all cards unclickable. And the game freezes. That confirms our logic is working. Once a wrong move is made, input is shut down completely and the game is fully locked. So we just used if condition to control when each card is clickable. We said a card can only be clicked if the move is valid and the card hasn't been revealed yet. Now we want to specifically show the number on the card only after it has been flipped. And using show when, we make sure that clicking the card actually reveals its value. This will make sure that players don't see any numbers at first. Numbers appear only after a click, whether it's valid or invalid. And if the player clicks in the wrong order, the game locks. And no more numbers are revealed. So here we have this abang rich text item which makes the number appear inside the card, right? Here in the show when parameter, we use fvbankitem.show is equal to true, which checks if the card has been marked as shown, meaning it's been clicked by the player, right? And we know that the default state of fvbankitem.show is false and it becomes true only when the card is clicked, and that's when we show the number. Alright, so basically without this visibility control, all numbers would be shown by default, which would totally break the game. So now let's verify that the card numbers are hidden by default and only shown after a valid click. You see no numbers are visible on any cards. Next, I'm going to click the correct number in sequence and that flipped card now shows its number and unflipped card still hide their numbers. This confirms that the show when condition applies individually to each card using fvbankitem.show. And that brings us to the end of this part. In the next part of the series, part 4, we will take things a step further by adding a reset and play again button and enhancing the visual styling of the cards. And that's where the game will start to feel real. If you're enjoying the series, be sure to like and subscribe and I'll see you in part 4. Cheers, bye-bye.